Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on what time you're watching this. It is Tuesday, and while yesterday was a heavy day, today is more of a aerobic conditioning type day. So a lot of stuff that we would really look at more as monostructural, with the only exception being the slam ball. So let's take a look at what we're getting ourselves into. The workout today, 50 calories on the row. If you don't have a rower and you have an assault bike, 50 calories on the assault bike is a good sub. If you don't have an assault bike and you don't have a rower, well, then I don't know, I would maybe have somebody sub that as 50 burpees instead. Yes, I know that's not the same thing, but again, we're looking at stuff that's monostructural. And a burpee is generally something that's programmed from a monostructural viewpoint because it's not super taxing on any of your muscles. It's mostly your lungs, right? They get taxed on that. So that becomes really more of a monostructural movement versus say a push-up or something else like that. Anyway, 50 calorie rows, 75-pound slam balls, and then an 800-meter run. We are doing this 2 rounds for time. So this is one of those workouts where you're gonna want to set a pace that's a semi-aggressive, uncomfortable pace, and then stay there. It's not one where I'm gonna go out like a bat out of hell, blow up on my 50 cals, and then completely fall apart with my slam balls. So we won't spend that much time talking about the Calorie Row today because we did a lot of that last week and talking about row form and what to think about when we're rowing for calories versus rowing for distance. So if you're looking at, if you're curious on what those were, you can reference our older videos from last week. I'm trying to remember what day of the week it was. Everything blurs together for me still. I'm trying to think of what day of the week it was. I know, but if you look at the workouts, you'll see one where we rowed for calories. It was Friday where we did our Calorie Row, our toes to bar, and then box jumps. So go back to Friday's briefing video if you're watching this at home and you're curious about some more details on that, and we covered that a little bit more in depth, but go back and reference that. Biggest thing to think about on calories, guys, drive hard through your feet, hard through your heels. Really utilize the power in your legs on your row. If you're a heavy arm puller on your rower and you're still like, oh, I do decent, cool, you could do a whole lot better if you learn to use the right muscles first because they're bigger and able to sustain that amount of power output a whole lot longer than my arms will. So the slam balls we'll talk about here in a little bit. It's been a minute since we've seen those. And then a run is a run, 800 meters. And this is on average, when we look at this as a time domain from a programming perspective, I'm thinking about 4 minutes, give or take. Obviously, some athletes are gonna be faster and some athletes are gonna be slower, but we're going on what's the average. So this workout in general is probably going to be, let's see, 8, 10. We're going to be probably in the 15 to 20 minute time frame. There's going to be some exceptions to that. Probably some people that are more in the 12 to 15 minute range. But let's go talk about our standards on those slam balls, and then I know you guys will be good on the Calorie Row and the run. So it's been a minute since we've used the slam ball. When I am working with the slam ball, it's about extending all the way. I'm going to bring that slam ball all the way up over my head. It's not a lazy lift with that ball, so my elbows aren't bent. I'm not hinged at my hips. I'm not bent at my knees. Everything's nice and extended. That ball is all the way up overhead, and then I'm aggressively driving it towards the floor. Now, these are full of sand, and they will absorb that impact so they don't bounce. An example, come all the way up, you get a little tiny bounce, and then it kind of levels off. So if I want to cycle these well and effectively and not have to stop and pick it up every time, I need to slam it into the ground hard and then quickly get back under the slam ball itself. So a big throw and getting my hands under the slam ball. Now notice at the top, again, arms are straight, hips are open, and then I'm aggressively driving towards the floor. And it's more of a core activation, very aggressive hip close, versus we do a lot of things that are very aggressive hip opens. So like a box jump or a clean or a snatch or anything else like that is an aggressive open with my hip. This is an opposite or a counter movement to a lot of those where I'm aggressively closing my hip angle instead. So more akin to a toe to bar or a sit-up or a GHD sit-up or anything else like that is where you're gonna find the correlation here. But as simple as that, from the ground, all the way up overhead, aggressive down, get your hands back under that slam ball, so you can go right into your next rep versus that up, lazy slam ball. I mean, if it turns into that, cool, but we're losing the value of that closing our hip angle really fast by just picking it up and letting it drop. Picking it up and letting it drop. That doesn't do us a whole lot of good in terms of what this movement is actually intended to do. So keep that in mind as we're getting into the workout today. A lot of times you can do med balls or something else like that in place of a slam ball, but depending on the med ball, they're not necessarily designed to be slammed into the floor over and over again. You could run the risk of splitting seams or doing anything else like that. So if you're doing this with equipment at home and you don't have a slam ball, it's okay to use other things, but know that those other things might get worn out in other ways and a lot faster because they weren't intended for that type of use. So just keep that in mind. Again, some med balls, you can look it up and see which one you have and who made it. And if they're designed for slam balls, some can be used for both. But I know like some of the Dynamax ones and the things that we have here are not designed for that. And you will create lopsided med balls and things like that by doing slam balls instead. And with 150 reps of slam balls today, don't want to see that sort of stuff happen. So again, pretty simple today, a lot of monostructural stuff, nothing overly high skill, but that means it's just time to work. And that also is a precursor saying the rest of the week, yeah, you're going to see barbells, yeah, you're going to see other things like that. So don't underestimate what's coming, you know, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then of course on Saturdays when things get really fun. So that's what we're getting ourselves into. Again, it should be tops maybe 20 minutes of work depending on your pace. And yeah, it's gonna be a good one today. So cool. With that, I'm excited to see you guys in here. Can't wait until we get to phase 3. Fingers crossed that happens sooner rather than later, so we can have more than 5 athletes in every class and get one more step back towards normal. But roughly 20 minutes of work should be a good time. Let's get after it.